Okay, Spyderco Southard clone comparison versus an original factory OEM Spyderco, the genuine deal. On the left hand side is a real Spyderco Southard, and on the right is a Spyderco Southard that's direct from Japan, direct from China rather. I got it in a little different handle. This is G10 and this is carbon fiber, just because I wanted to try something different, but I could have gotten it in G10 to match. I'm going to go over the boxes first, and then I'm going to go over the differences in the knives, and I'll try to go over differences that you can see in an auction or a sales site, and also differences that you can feel in your hand. But rest assured, for one thing, of all the Chinese knockoffs and clones that I've looked at, I would rank this one up there at the top, or very near the top, at the top really. This Chinese knockoff is a great knife here. So first thing I'm going to go over, and if you've seen any of my other videos about these knockoffs, you'll know that I don't put a lot of stock in the boxes and the differences. You know, these boxes are very, very similar. The gradients, the swooshes, they're, you know, the colors, you can't really go by that. You can't really go by the printing on the boxes being different. And I can the real one is on the top here, and the fake one is on the bottom. Some people look at this printing, but you really can't go by that because this is just a sticker off of a printer. So, you know, they look at the fact that the barcodes don't come down and they don't touch the Arabic numerals here, whereas here they clash, and this is the real one on top. They clash up against the numbers. The weight of the font, and I would say don't look at that. Just don't pay much attention to it, because number one, they can get that easily fixed because it's just a setup on a printer. And then the second thing is there's a lot of variability even amongst genuine boxes. Both these boxes are printed in Japan. I wouldn't look at the weighting of the fonts or anything. So on the left is the real one, and on the right is the fake. The only difference I've seen on most of these boxes, and you'll see that they've got, because this is a higher end box, they've got a lot of the fake one is on the top here, and the real one's on the bottom. They've even got, you know, the production of this Spyderco brochure is well done. It's for Southard. It even it shows the Southard. This is pretty much a knockoff of the Spyderco brochure. I mean, it's identical. I mean, I could go over and look for typos, but that'd be a big waste of time. You could have typos probably in a factory one. The only thing that I've seen for the most part that factors into these fakes and knockoffs, and just recently that's even coming into question a little bit, but you can see there's a space here where the foam does not fit the box very well. You pull the foam out. You can also look at the foam. It's a very thick foam, very dense foam, and the foam, when it goes in the box, it doesn't fit. You can see the white of the bottom of the box showing through a little bit. Whereas on the fake one, it's almost oversized. They'll either fit perfectly or they'll be a little oversized, and then when you pull them out, you can see where the box is showing through. It's a very thin foam. It's lightweight. It is not a dense foam. You can see through this foam. And you can see the white of the box through there. So it fits and fills up the whole bottom of the box. And you can see this foam. You can't see through it. You can't see the white of the box through that. So that's the biggest thing about the boxes that I've seen that's fairly consistent, is that the foam fitting and the density of the foam. So if someone were to show you a picture of, and you say, show me the inside of the box with the foam, you could see that, you know, whether the foam fit or not. I've only had one or two fakes that the foam actually fit like a real Spyderco. It had the little space. So here's the real one on the bottom. The real one is with the brown G10. This is the way the very first Spyderco Southard came out. Now they've got some versions from Spyderco that are blacked out with carbon fiber, and they're black blades and stuff like that. This is that's just recently. When this clone was bought, they didn't have a carbon fiber handle, so this was something I just picked to be a little bit different. I'm going to show you some of the differences in the knives here. as far as the construction of them. The clone knife is a very well-made knife. It has got a slight amount, and I could possibly take that up with the pivot, of side-to-side play in it. Not much. It is also very easy to flip open. It has a detent on it. It's very good. Yet it is still easy to push open, and it, pretty much flies open with not much effort. It's got a very nice action. I would say that this action, and also the way the lock works, is absolutely flawless. The blade is perfectly centered. The lockup on the blade, on the lock in here, is you can see is about 30%. It's very early, it's pretty early lockup. I'll go over the differences in the titanium, which is where you can see the difference. As opposed to this one, you got to put some force on here to get it to come out, and it is not just going to fly open all the way. Even if you push it out, it's a little tight. I have not done much with the pivot on this to try to adjust it out. The blade is, solid as a rock. There's a very, very, very slight amount of side to side in that. You got to really torque on it to feel it. It's centered. Everything is made real nice on this one as well. The lockup is, a little more. It's about 50%. It has got a much stiffer action to release the lock. The detent is very heavy on the real Spyderco. It's heavy enough that when you try to deploy it by pushing on the spider hole, it's hard. I really can't get that out. And you can, it's still pretty hard on the fake. It's actually, they're pretty tight on both of them. But you can take the fake and pretty much easily flip it out with the flipper without having to put much on there. It's a little bit looser and a little bit easier action. And so is the lock, is a little lighter actioned. The hardware is pretty close. There is a slight difference in size in the pivot pins, I think. But, could you appreciate that on something? No, I don't think you could. And so to look at this on an eBay auction and try to figure out, is that a fake from the pivot pin size? No, I don't think you can. The screws on the G10 and on the titanium of the real one are countersunk fully. They are below the surface of the G10. And on the back side, they are below the surface of the titanium as well. You cannot, they're below the surface. Whereas on the fake, they're countersunk, but they're just slightly protruding from the surface on the back and on the front. On the titanium side, you can feel them. They're above the surface, and they're above the surface on this carbon fiber side. The biggest giveaway on the Chinese knives so far is this is the titanium Southard. They make two of them. There's a titanium and a stainless steel. The titanium is obviously much more expensive. Is that the finish on this is totally different from the factory Southard finish. It's a bead blast titanium finish. It's just kind of a flat, featureless metal, gray metal. They have not, nothing has ate this thing up at all. So it's a bead blast finish, very fine, very, almost a chalky kind of smoothness from the bead blast just being kind of a matte. You don't slide on it at all. On the edges or anything, it's almost like a chalky feeling because of the bead blast, which, until everybody started stonewashing, would have been a really premium, nice finish. If you look at the finish on the real guy here, it is a stonewash. It's kind of a coarse stonewash. And then I don't know what they do to, maybe it's just the material that they use to stonewash it, but it makes a very satiny, even, smooth feel to the titanium. And it's an attractive finish, it really is. And the idea behind stonewashing is so that you get a little nick or scratch in there, and it kind of mixes in with the other nicks and scratches that were done during the stonewash, so it's kind of pre-disastered, as T.S. Garp would say. This knife is extremely well done on all the edges. The jimping is really feels smooth, smooth, smooth. It's got enough that if you push on there, you pull it out, and if you got to bear down on it and push down into the jimping, it will grab your, finger a little bit. But it's a smooth surface. And this edge is really just satiny smooth, and the spider hole is satiny smooth. Everything you touch on these Spydercos, the flipper, everything is just all the edges, even the inside edges here on the inside of the frame, everything is satiny smooth on it, with the exception of maybe this little point right here. But all your edges have been broken with a with a file basically, or some kind of abrasive. You can see that they are machined over and they're all smooth. Even the inside of the frame has got a very smooth feel to it. If you stick your finger down in there, I've got some different knives that are almost sharp as razors down in here, but where they left them, they intentionally did that, but it's very sharp. Everything about this knife is smoothed over and nice to the touch. You can see how wide they broke this edge over and smoothed it out. And these edges are just, it's unbelievable how smooth they are. They don't even feel like metal, they just feel polished. Every edge on it is not only broken, but it is polished. So you take the clone, and the clone, they also did an exceptional job of doing that also, which is pretty amazing. But not quite the same degree. It is very smooth and it is polished. Same thing with the spider hole, the jimping. But it's got, you can feel more of an angle on it. And I want to see if I can get this in a picture. Maybe we can see if you can appreciate in the photograph the difference I'm talking about, because it is a fine difference in how they machined these knives. Probably, I'm not even sure it's even worth particularly mentioning, other than to say that they've done a little better work on the Spyderco Southard. I'm not sure you can see, but this edge where they polished it is just a little bit wider where they broke the edge over when they smoothed it out. So these edges are just laying over just a little bit more and a little bit smoother. They are still incredibly smooth on the fake, but just not quite. You can see this angle here is just rolled just a little bit more than that one. Neither one is sharp, they're both very smooth. And it goes on to the same thing with if you touch inside here on the frame of the real one, it's just really, this has been smoothed off, but this is even smoother and more polished. All the edges were kind of done that way. So the fake is on the top, and you can see how they really rolled this edge on the real knife, and that you can see the fake is just, it's rolled on the edge, but just not quite to the same degree. So it makes the knives definitely have a little different feel to them. Not a lot, and you got to really, other than noticing the stone wash, if this fake here was stone washed like this one was, you'd really have a hard time, unless you handle both of them, because this is not a rough edge, but it's definitely when you push your thumb down on that edge, you're feeling closer to 90 degrees than when you do it on this one. It feels much more rolled and much more polished. The jimping is smooth on both knives, and these edges up here are smooth on both the knives, and you really got to go some to appreciate that there's a little bit difference in the polishing on the clone versus the real knife. Just they didn't quite spend that extra level of detail that you would on a knife like this. You can also look at, there is a slight difference in the way they radiused out this cutout for the thumb. I don't know if you can see that. And it's mainly got to do with the angle here, as it wraps around more like a circle on the real one. It kind of trails out. Let me look and make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, this is very difficult to see, I think. If they were both the same color, it would be easier to appreciate, I think. But when they made, this looks almost like on the real one that they took took something that was perfectly round when they cut this ledge out. When they basically routed this edge out, it looks like they took something that was almost perfectly round and almost plunged it. So they have a perfect even radius all the way around. If you look on this black G10, it's up until about the 2 o'clock position, it's like a circle. And then they like let the circle open up a little bit, down from like 2 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock. So it kind of opens out a little bit. You can see this is going straight down, and this is kind of coming out at an angle this direction. So you know, fine point. I don't know if I would pay much attention to that because it could be just a manufacturing tolerance. But it looks like they used maybe a different tool setup. This is almost a perfect even radius, and this radius starts opening up when it gets at 2 o'clock. It opens up from 2 to like 5. It just sort of opens out to the right. That is really about it. I can tell you that the standoffs on these knives are pretty much identical and well done. So the real ones on the right, you can see the standoffs, how close they are. You can see the clips, how close they are. They're both sharp on the tip. They both need the tip radiused off. If you look at how they made these clips on here, the real one is on the right. You can see maybe slight different machining in the way it matches up to the edge. Neither one of them are perfect, by the way. But there isn't a lot you can do with the lanyard hole. The only thing to really tell on one of these, other than the fact that you look at it and you say, well, Spyderco has not offered this carbon fiber option. There's one more thing I want to point out about it. Let me point that out before I forget it. Is that, and that's just as an aside here, you would never notice this on a photograph. But, and I don't know if I can even capture it in a video, is that the carbon fiber was left a little raw on here. And there are machining marks in it that go horizontal. I really don't know if you're going to be able to get that with the lighting I have. I don't think so. It's hard to say. But you know, I've got a Spyderco that does that too. I think it's a Cali or something. Maybe you can see it down in here. Is they left this, they didn't polish it very well. And I'm not sure why they did that. It does help with maybe, there's some horizontal machining marks where they were sanding it, that you can see machining marks from sanding it like this. I've got a Spyderco that does that too. I've got some that are, you know, really well polished Spydercos with carbon fiber that don't show any machining marks, any sanding marks whatsoever. And they're finished much better than this. I'm not sure if they did that to give this a similar finish to the front and the back, because it gives a similar finish on both sides. This is obviously a little more bitey because it's you know, a bead blast, but it's kind of a similar quality of finish since neither side is polished. They might have, I don't know what they were thinking there, but that would be one of the only differences. Really, you could say that when you look at this knife and you see it on, if this one were to be on eBay, you would say, Spyderco doesn't make a carbon fiber handled knife with a silver blade. Now they make a carbon, I think it's, I don't know if it's carbon fiber or G10, but they do make an all blackout version. So let's look at the quality. Let me give some shots of the blades here. They did a very good job of machining this blade and setting it up. The stone wash on it is really nice. The logos are spot on and are good quality how they etched those. There is an interesting color kind of shift, which you probably won't appreciate here either. It kind of has a yellowish, goldish kind of iridescence to it, depending on how the light hits it. I'm not sure you'll see it. And I've tried not to do anything to these. I've had this one a couple of months, and I was wanting to see how the metal, if it changed a little bit. And I would say it's got kind of a goldish tone iridescence to it. And of course you don't know what these, this is maybe D2 or something, you don't know what it is. It's got the same labels that a Spyderco would have on it. The CTS, what is it, XHP or 240p Carpenter steel. And then the real one, they're extremely similar in the way they did the stone wash. The real one doesn't have this kind of gold iridescent patina look kind of to it that isn't set up. It's kind of got it's definitely got its own look, but it doesn't have that gold iridescence. I'll tell you, you would have one hard time picking out logo differences between these two knives. The edges on both of them are, the Spyderco is very sharp, and so is the clone. The clone is extremely sharp too. The blades are cut, you know, if you look at them, there is very little difference in the way the guy who ground the blade, and I don't know if I had 5 genuine Southards in my hand, if there would be a difference, you know, as well. Also, as far as like if you look at this top flattened area, is a little bit different right towards the end here on the clone on the top. It's not as, it looks longer. So there's some, you know, now I got the real one on the top. There's some there's a slightly different profile. You can see it's this little flattened area up in here where the logo's at is a little longer on the one on the bottom than it is on the one on the top, and the one on the bottom is the clone. I don't think you can use that to look at something and tell if it's fake on the internet. I can tell you this though, is that they do make one thing I did want to point out is that of the clones, they make a titanium framed one and a stainless steel framed one. There's a difference in the weight. These two knives feel the same weight. They're both titanium. The stainless steel clone is, I do not have, I've never seen, never held. It's supposed to be heavier, and according to them is not as good a quality, but you know, it's hard to tell when the Chinese are writing up a web page exactly what they mean by that. They maybe need less quality because it's not titanium. Maybe the same quality of construction, I'm not sure. But it's actually got a stone wash on it, and the clip and the frame are perfect matches, so you can tell on it that it's a stainless clip, because the clips on these are stainless. It's a stainless clip with a stainless frame because the colors match perfectly. If you look at a titanium Spyderco, you'll see that there is a difference in look between the clip and the frame, even if they were both stone washed, because the clip is stainless and the frame is titanium. On the fakes that are the same, if you have stonewash here and stonewash here, and they're both the same color, it's a fake, and it's probably stainless, and it's probably one of the less expensive Chinese knives. This clone knife it's probably got pretty good steel. The action on it is superb. The construction on this thing is superb. If you crack it open, it's running on ball bearings, just like, or roller bearings, no, ball bearings, roller bearings, one of them. Just like the real one, they almost look identical in their construction. This is an extremely well-made knife. It has a very good action. It is very sharp. And I would say this is the deal right here if you're wanting a Southern look-alike. And you know, this is way too much money. This is quite a deal at whatever it is, 56 bucks I paid for this back in the day. It is smooth as silk. It was smooth out of the box. Everything about it is polished. It is just a great knife. So if you have any questions about how to tell these apart, and like I said, on these things, I think there's only a few things you can look at. I think you can look at the way the titanium is finished. If the clip and the titanium look identical, you need to start looking really close. Especially if they're silver, because if they're both stone washed and are identical colored, that means they're both stainless, and Spyderco does not make a knife like that. Spyderco does make a full blackout knife now. It's a blacked out blade. The titanium is blacked out, and it is not. It is a bead blast like this, and it's blacked. Everything is black on it, including the hardware. Everything's blacked out on it. That would be an interesting knife. I thought I had one of those, but it turned out that deal kind of fell through. I was going to shoot it with this video, but they don't make one like this. So anything other than brown G10 on a silvery looking knife like this, it's pretty much got to be brown G10, or it could be a custom that somebody put a custom scale on, but it's not a factory Spyderco knife. There's only 2 of those. So and this is not one of them. If you have any questions, feel free, or comments, feel free to post. And I'll answer anything I notice about these 2 knives. I'm going to be getting rid of this one soon. That's why I wanted to shoot the video. And it's going to be moving on to somebody else to play with. And if you have any questions or comments, I'll post them. Thank you.